Beyonce telling me to kill it. That'd be huge now if I could open up for Beyonce now. We switch it around, you know. But yeah, that's always definitely something fun to look back at. If I get to build with you and chill for 5 minutes and exchange a little, you know, your music's amazing, thank you for doing what you do, and maybe we can get together and do something. I mean, that's always incredible.
25, 26 years later, and you know what I mean, I still haven't been paid a check for my records. You know what I'm saying?
I know Babyface was big red. I told you.
Because B and J are the model couple, you are all aware of the Beehive's continual infatuation and craziness. But what if I told you that Jay-Z wasn't even the first to pursue Beyoncé? They don't realize that Semester is supposed to own that spot. In fact, Jon B's soft voice and R&B heart pound like crazy, giving us timeless songs we might not have ever known existed, and a person to fall in love with. Baby, just roll with me, take a sip. But see, JBJ someone to touch, and classics don't talk. He supposedly swooped in and played the long game since he wasn't going to allow anybody else to overtake Beyoncé. Jay supposedly shut Jon B down totally when he talked about his past, with Beyoncé a little too much. Now that Jon B is speaking up again, some of you are undoubtedly asking who I mean. I guess the blacklisting worked. Now let's examine this love that never was in Jay's role in preventing Jon B from joining the company. It all started with an old interview that surfaced in which Jon B made some contentious remarks regarding Beyoncé. Because it was the late 1990s, Destiny's Child was still in the spotlight, and Jon B was one of the sexiest R&B singers at the time. I can guarantee you that did not sit well with the public. With spending time with them, traveling with them, and even keeping a close eye on young Beyoncé, who was only 16 at the time. While discussing his tour with Destiny's Child, Jon B jokingly remarks that he was looking at Beyoncé currently and said, "Hey, who, y'all?" People were laughing and pointing fingers at the way he said it.
Beginning of her career, so I was looking at a little 16, 17-year-old Beyonce, just like, you know, like, I'm sorry, but because I'm a grown man at the time, it's kind of wrong, but.
Even worse, there are rumors that Jagged Edge approached Beyoncé when she was still a teenager. Some have drawn some disturbing parallels, although this has never been verified.
This is a type of exposure that these ladies had at a very, very...
But who else didn't like it? Industry insiders claim that Jay-Z is to blame for Jon B's public disappearance. Let's face it, some of you had to Google Jon B before watching the video for a little moment. This says a lot because at one point, Jon B, also known as Mr. White Chocolate, was everywhere. He worked with legendary artists like Tupac, had a fan base that included The Rock, and his music was broadcast on the radio. But unlike other R&B legends of his day, he appears to have vanished, lacking industry support, big-name personalities, and a noteworthy comeback. Jay is alleged to have been involved in it, if the rumors are true.
For Pac, and I saw Pac, met him, saw Casey and JoJo in there, Johnny J, you know, rest in peace as well. He was the one who made the beat for Artists for Them. He produced the beat.
That was one of Tupac's.
What's ridiculous is that some people are accusing Jay-Z of being hypocritical for pursuing Jon B because Jay-Z was purportedly having an affair with Beyoncé. Several insiders claim that Jay-Z orchestrated events behind the scenes to prevent Jon B from getting the help he required to remain relevant. If that's the case, Jay-Z seems to have been genuinely ensuring that he was the only person standing behind Beyoncé at the top. For many years, people have been wondering when Jay-Z and Beyoncé officially began dating. Some maintain it was earlier, while others assert she was 19 years old. How is Jon B's circumstance any different if that is the case? People are examining this entire situation because of it. If Jay was really that upset over an older man showing interest in young Beyoncé, why did he allegedly do the same thing?
A lot of people think, yes, these two are together. What's going on?
For the most part, you are unable to even name someone. Controlling the narrative is one of Jay-Z's strongest suits. Because of how long they have been together, people tend to forget that Beyoncé was in a relationship before him. If Jay-Z was being truthful, he made sure that previous relationships were kept out of the public eye. It's not by chance that the sole picture we have of Beyoncé with another man is from her prom. Together for years, he even discussed the breakup in interviews, despite his somewhat lively appearance. According to him, their connection started to wane as Beyoncé's fame took off. Ostensibly, it wasn't a dramatic split, but more that, except from Lindell, they were outgrowing one another. Reportedly, Beyoncé's name has been linked to a few other businessmen, such as Sean Paul, Justin Timberlake, Cisco, who is truly the most deaf, and Marcus Houston, who supposedly loves them. People are spying on Jay-Z in relation to Jon B because we cannot deny that the white R&B singer's history of a downward spiral is not coincidental. Online, Jovi has been criticized for being improper, strange, and scary ever since the video was made public again. People are refusing to put up with the music industry's treatment of women and all that has been exposed. Some even speculate that Jay-Z may have decided to shut Jon B truly down because of this interview. If you think Jay-Z just reportedly blocked from the UC, that was just the first step. I'm not only referring to the period when he was ridiculed for including black women in these music videos. Jon B has more experience in this field than you probably even realize, which is why you got me. Yes, that was a big deal at the time. The industry didn't like that a white boy was marrying a black woman, much less giving them such a big part in the marriage. However, there is a lot more to the tale.
15 years.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, look. Your daughters are now 16 and 9.
Yeah.
Jon B disclosed in an unexpected appearance on the Joe Budden show that he had never been paid for his songs. Joe Budden was ready to exit the room when I mentioned that he was shaken.
Nah.
Jon B.
No, they still have
Jon
to
B, I
pay.
will walk out of this room.
No,
Why do
they
you think
still-
he lying?
They still
Well,
have to pay.
that sounds believable.
Every record?
That sounds believable.
Every record, bro.
Nah, there's some type of
All of those hits, like Someone to Love, are unknown to you since Jon B explained that his live performances generate more of his income than his hit songs. Still feeling down? Yes, he has never been paid for them. There's a caveat to Jon B's allegation that he was bound by a record deal. The label placed him under this agreement because, according to some, Jay-Z kept Jahan unpaid and stuck.
No publishing, nothing?
I mean, it's not what it needs to be. You know what I mean? It's not right. None of that. It was more of like in the fine lines.
the fine print as a
the
young
fine
man.
print, like, oh well, in order for you to get paid, we have to recoup these other artists that we signed.
Let's make the connections after everything. Working under Babyface's label, Jon B had a bright future. However, Babyface later claimed that Jon was never signed directly to him, which included all label operations. If the stories are true, JY had close connections in the industry and made sure Jon B never had to defend his money or his masters. Well, the Beyoncé link makes a lot more sense if Jay-Z really had a purpose to remove Jon from the game, doesn't it?
Oh man, I'm about to go talk to Babyface, and really the rest was history. When I walked through the door, it was kind of like evident, okay, we need to be working.
Since you can be sure that Babyface will write their songs, I'll say this. I've never heard of an artist who wrote all of their music. Please let me know in the comments if you think Jon B wrote his songs, or if Babyface wrote them. Jon B admitted that he was caught up because of the fine print in his agreement, and he is still trying to correct it now. The problem is that Wild is supposed to have contributed all of his music. Thus, he ought to be getting a substantial share of her publishing rights, right? The full erasure of an artist like this typically indicates that it was the result of the work of a compelling person. In this instance, the rumors were aimed at Jay-Z, but in September 2015, he was the target of a federal lawsuit from his previous management firm, GSM Entertainment Marketing, which made matters even worse. After Jon B signed a contract with GSM, they got to work organizing a full concert tour for him. This is precisely what influential industry players enjoy doing. Deals for musicians are nothing new if you look at how the music industry operates. Plan to perform in London, Chicago, and a number of other places, but the competition starts here. GSN declares they said Jon B owed them $100,000 in recording expenses for his next album and more than $30,000 in commissions. Even worse, Jon B apparently ceased communicating with them entirely. No emails, texts, calls, or anything else. Which is, let's face it, a look in the business world. Jon B is out here assuring us that he gets paid for his music before his management company sues him for unpaid commissions. Certainly there is. When you think about it, the purpose of this lawsuit was not only financial gain, but also to make it harder for Jon B to move on from his already problematic profession. As you can see, industry insiders are extremely hesitant to work with artists who have been sued by their own management. This might have been a component of a bigger plan to keep Jon B on the blacklist first, if you put the pieces together. After the incident, he is reportedly forced out of the industry, and no manager, label, or tour promoter wants to work with an artist who has a track record of not paying their employees. Remember that the mainstream industry was already not supporting Jon B at this point. Following that, Beyoncé is purportedly bound by a terrible record agreement that keeps him from earning money from his own music. Currently, a significant lawsuit stymies his progress as he attempts to return for a tour and a new record. After everything that the business threw at him, you may have assumed that Jon B would keep quiet. But in 2024, he made a louder comeback than ever before, and this time, he had a grudge against two of the biggest performers of the day, Chloe Bailey and Gunna. Jon B immediately attacked them, saying that their song, You and Me, which was released in without getting his permission, DS4 sampled the song from Gunna's 2022 album For All Time. It wasn't simply a quiet backstage dispute. Listen, Jon B was enraged and made sure everyone knew how he felt. Jon quickly criticized Gunna's and Chloe's cooperation during an interview with the Can We Talk R&B cast. I didn't like their rendition of the song, he said simply, adding that he wished they hadn't created it.
But no, it does get sampled every year, by someone. Last year was Gunna and Chloe Bailey.
It didn't stop there though, because Jon B also revealed that they had never received permission to use his record in the first place. He had stated that he had some business to attend to and that he needed to be dragged by the pistol. But let's pause and consider this. Gunna and Cho decided to choose the second course of action as soon as Jon B started to leak information. In the music business, sampling is nothing new. Musicians constantly do it. However, there is a legitimate way to do it. Either pay for it and clear the sample, or you risk being sued. Let's hear what folks have to say, because there are different levels to clear a sample, and the commercial side of things might be challenging. Some stated that he had every right to be angry if his song was taken without his permission, while others were riding with him. Jon B believed that the music industry had used him for decades, and this whole Gunna and Chloe situation was about more than just a single song. He was allegedly blacklisted first because of Jay-Z, and he was never paid for his own work after that. Music, after which his management team filed a lawsuit against him, and it has since been alleged that musicians are using his tracks without giving him credit. Jon B spoke up when the time came, but ultimately the day comes when we probably never fully comprehend what really happened with Jon B, Jay-Z, and Beyoncé. But two things are for sure. J and B remain in the lead, and Jon B, well, let's just say his name doesn't have the same weight as it once had, since they don't know who Jon is. What are your thoughts on this? Is Jon B just another musician who fell out of favor, or did Jay's really blacklist him to secure his place next to Beyoncé? The power strategies are even more extreme if Jay-Z was involved in that. Let us talk about it in the comments.